first, I want to start off by thanking HPD, the fire department, our municipal employees for how they handle the events that took place in our city over the weekend. Last week was stressful and painful on so many different levels, and to have the Uvalde massacre in when 19 kids' lives were taken, 2 adults, on a Tuesday, followed by the NRA being in town with over 60,000 people. Started really on Thursday, going Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then for HPD, the fire department, other city personnel, as well as others to step in to maintain the peace. I want to thank them for just doing an incredible job, because they did do an incredible job under some very tough circumstances. And I want to thank the people in our city and the people who visited our city, who behaved themselves in an orderly fashion. They exercised their First Amendment rights. The delegates came to the convention. But from every report that I have received, things could not have been handled better by any city. And I certainly want to take this opportunity to thank all Chief Slinker on behalf. I know Chief Fenner is out of the state. But to the police officers, to Chief Pena, and all of the firefighters and city employees, let me thank you all for doing an incredible job, and for the people in the city of Houston. Having said that, there's been a lot of conversation, reports in reference to record-breaking crime in our city, especially as it relates to homicides. These are numbers that I look at every single morning, with the exception of, I guess you can say, the weekend, but every single morning. And I will say to you, at the beginning of this year, all of us can recall in January, the reports that were being made, given that homicides were at a record-breaking pace, ahead of where things were in a year ago. So, for example, in January, people were reporting that crime was up, homicides were up, let's say at least 65% over and above last year to date. And people saying Houston, the capital of the world. I mean, just a lot of reports that were taking place, that were being spoken. We did institute One Safe Houston on February the 2nd of this year, using $52 million of ARPA funding to address crime in our city. Really took a very holistic approach in doing that. It was an all-hands-on-deck approach. So again, I want to thank HPD. Chief Slinker, why don't you step over in the back? So certainly want to thank HPD through increased boots on the ground, as well as through the overtime initiative, adding 125 police officers per day, working very intentional in addressing that. I want to thank them. I want to thank the city legal department, for example, for the initiatives that were put in place, cracking down on so many different areas, and Natura Michelle and the legal department for the work that they did in moving forth. Crystal Agora has the responsibility of kind of overseeing One Safe Houston, tracking what is taking place in all of those initiatives. Certainly want to thank the members of City Council for saying yes to many of the initiatives, and many of the district city councils for doing things in their own individual district. It has been an all hands on deck. Want to thank our other partners as well for stepping up, county DA's office, and addressing the situation, Crime Stoppers, all of the partners, community partners, people taking an interest in their own neighborhoods. Very much appreciate that, but really want to just underscore the federal dollars that we have received from the Biden-Harris administration as it relates to crime reduction Anyway, the point that I simply want to make, every morning, been looking at these numbers. For the last several months, we've been trending in the right direction in almost every category, with the exception of homicides. We have been below year to date where things were. This morning, for example, looking at the numbers, and for the first time this year, we are now below where we were a year ago as it relates to homicides. Last year, at this time, there were 192 murders in our city. As of this morning, that number is 187. And so we are 3% below where we were last year. And those numbers have been trending in the right direction. And not just on homicides, but almost in all other categories of violent crime, been trending in the right direction. I'm not here at all to say that it's a mission accomplished, not saying that at all. What I am here to say, and what I want to assure Houstonians, is that with the initiative, the One Safe Houston plan that we put in place, if you're looking at the numbers, it is working. It is effective. It is having an impact. And the numbers will speak to themselves. Now, if it's one crime, if one person is involved in one crime or one life is lost, that is way too many. So let me underscore that. So you're never satisfied until there's no crime, no murders being committed in your city, no robberies being taking place in your city, no assaults being taking place in your city. But from where things were in January, and all of the statements and the reports that were made, that were being made, when you look at where we are today, with the steps that we have put in place, from all indications, the One Safe Houston initiative is working, and the numbers are speaking for themselves. In fact, even as it relates to homicide clearance, and Chief Fenner's not here, but Chief Slinkard, and to HPD, the clearance rate is at 80%. And that's above the clearance rate in 2020 and 2021. So more crimes are being solved. And again, I want to thank HPD for their work in this area, because we're solving more. Now we simply need to make sure that as they get solved and they go through the criminal justice system, that the judges, the courts, and everybody else are working with us to keep people there and keep them off the streets. So there are additional steps that are being implemented. I think in July, the gun buyback program will take off, will kick in. So we're moving forward on that initiative, and Crystal Agorafor is providing leadership along with HPD on that initiative. The reentry program, providing employment and housing, reducing recidivism, that also will be taking place. With respect to the Credible Messengers program, getting the community influencers in play, that was a class that graduated a couple of weeks ago, so that piece is moving forward. The crisis intervention initiatives, all of that's in play and moving forward. The technology piece, we're utilizing more technology than we've used in the past. That's taken forward. So it's no one single piece. It's all of these pieces working together. Again, we are not where we want to be, but we're certainly trending in the right direction. And when it comes to homicides, I want the word to be very clear. There are fewer homicides here today than there were a year ago, and we're going to continue to be very intentional to drive that number down even more. Now, certainly understand on any given day and any given week, numbers can tick up. Numbers can tick up. But one of the reasons why I want to highlight today is because in January, so much attention was given. And so that information went out in terms of the murder capital of the world. I think the same degree of attention should be given when the results are positive for the people in the city of Houston. And that is that instead of being 65+% above in homicides where we were In January, on May the 30th of this year, we are 3% below where we were. So you've gone from 65+% in January to now 3% below. That is a significant swing. So Chief Salinka, let me thank you all for your work, and let me thank the Houston City Council members. And we still have a lot of work to do, and we're going to continue to move forward. Now let me stop, Chief Salinka. Sure.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much for your comments, and the Mayor covered everything comprehensively. And on behalf of Chief Fenner, who's out of town on city business, and all the men and women of the Houston Police Department, first let me say a thanks to the hardworking men and women of HPD and other law enforcement partners in our region who have answered the call and have done a phenomenal job in addressing this violent crime increase that we were seeing throughout our nation in every major city. And we've covered that very well, that Houston was no different in seeing that rise in violent crime over the last couple years. And I want to thank this mayor and this council, because every single time that we have come to this mayor council when we are facing unique challenges, like our country has been facing in this violent crime issue for the last couple years, every single time we have come to this mayor and this council, you have answered the call. And you have answered the call, and you have given us those additional resources that we need, even in a very tough, constrained fiscal environment. You have given us the resources that we need to try to be as responsive as possible to the citizens of this great city. And that's what we've been doing since February. Mayor, you've always said, and you have realized, as we have said many times, law enforcement cannot do it alone when we face unique challenges like this. And this mayor and this council uniquely understand that. That's why One Safe Houston that was rolled out in February was truly comprehensive. It's more than just enforcement. It's more than just law enforcement presence. It speaks to the more holistic endeavors that must take place for us to address violent crime in one of America's major cities. And you can see a few months into our initiative, it is working, because it was quite alarming that we entered 2022 outpacing what everyone knew was a record year in 2021. But we have been able to curb that. We have been able to stem that, and we will take that as a victory. However, the mayor said one is too many, and that is true every single day. And every single day that we put this uniform on and serve our citizens, one victim is too many in any violent crime category. So we are not done. There is much work to do. As the mayor said, we probably still have some challenges ahead of us, but we will face those, and we will face them together as one city and One Safe Houston. Mayor, council, I appreciate it, and HPD will continue to be out there every single day. And thank you to our citizens for your continued support. We need you to help us solve violent crime, and that increased interaction with citizens is working. And to the hard-working law enforcement officers in this region, thank you for what you're doing. I know you're tired, but let's keep it up because we're making a difference. Thank you.